Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for staying. Welcome back again to our Photo Gallery Artist Talk, this time featuring our Best Shot winner and one of our National Award winners, Michael Korol. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Before we start, I want to tell you a little bit about Michael. He received his MFA in Fine Art Photography and Printmaking from the Cranbrook Academy of Art and his BFA in Photographic Illustration from Rochester Institute of Technology. He has served many industries within the photography field, including commercial photography, advertising and celebrity portraits, and fine art photography. But he found another passion as an instructor of photography, printmaking, and ceramics for adults and kids. He taught photography at Parsons and the New School, as well as teaching special workshops, including classes for developmentally challenged, YAI, NYC, and the Roslyn School District, and various camps over the years. He has been published in all major art magazines, including Art in America, Art News, Architectural Digest, and Town & Country, to name a few. Michael's fine art has been exhibited nationally, including many awards and national shows. His works are also in the collection of major museums, including the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Whitney. In addition to teaching in his own studio, he specializes in historical photography processes and was featured in Jill Einfield's book, Photographic Alternate Processes. So that is to give you a little bit of insight into Michael's background. And he's going to talk a lot about many things related to that today. But I want to tell you more about
everything
him.
under the sun.
Everything under the sun. I'm just going to read this as it's written from Michael. Into the Woods, Botanically Toned Cyanotypes. This is his artist statement. My art has always been in search of meaning and communication, raising the visual to a point of being a visual written language. I'm always asking myself, what is the message? How is it being presented to the viewer? How is the viewer perceiving the image and the message? What can be done with the image to enhance connecting to the viewer? I work with a variety of historical photographic processes. All these processes are from the dawn of photography. These processes include albumen, salt prints, Kalitypes, Cyanotypes, platinum, palladium, and photogravure. I believe part of the message should be the historical part of photography. I will often combine processes in order to expand on this visual vocabulary. My current work presented in this show are mainly cyanotype prints. The cyanotype story starts with Prussian blue, being discovered by a Swiss color maker in 1706. Then, to the mid-1800s, cyanotypes were one of the added methods for photography. Cyanotypes are one of the easier processes to use, which sets up my approach. There is extreme complexity in simplicity, so keep it simple. I want to say that again. There is extreme complexity in simplicity, so keep it simple. I find no process comes as close to this as the cyanotype print. Playing with the meaning of blue that we all experience and the subtleties of shades of blue open a wonderful word to explore all the qualities mentioned. To enhance my final image, I use botanical toning from plants and often local ones when I can find them. This allows me to change the colors and the degree of the blues. I find it wonderful to explore how different shades of our sacred blue can evoke and change meaning and emotions. I also make my own paper from local plant fibers. This may include birch bark, poke berries, and many garden plants, to name a few. Sometimes I will use exotic fibers like Thai kozo, okay, Japanese gampi, sisal fiber from Africa. I use all these elements to expand on what can be communicated to the viewer. I will always work to combine all of these different parts to create this language, either a sentence or a paragraph within the image. I want to say that again because I think that's important.
Okay.
I will always work to combine all of these different parts to create this language, either a sentence or a paragraph within the image. My goal is that when viewers leave, they will have experienced more than just the image itself. I always like to remind everyone that our visual language is our first one.
Thank you. You said that so well. I think that's it, folks. But more needs to be said.
Okay, so Michael, take it away.
Thank you.
If I can help you in any
going
way,
back
let me
to
know.
the cyanotypes, I was kind of surprised too for this show. I was going to research a little more because it's really one of the simpler process. You don't pay much attention to it. And it was mentioned in one of the research I was doing that Beaumont, Newhall, the history of photography, that was the holy grail of the history of photography and alternate processes during the 80s, and all the colleges had them. I didn't even realize, they said cyanotype wasn't even included. The cyanotype is pretty much a blueprint, I'm sure most people know, and it was used for a copy. And they actually used a different type of ammonia fume to make it, and that's why the print would fade. What we use ammonium citrate. It goes with potassium ferrocyanide. And all you got to do is mix 50-50. None of them toxic. They sound like they toxic, but they're not toxic. That's why you know about children and kids always using the process. The other thing is that we're talking about what you're communicating to the viewer. It's like you're working with, I always ask everybody, what's the difference between art and fine art? I have instructors that wouldn't know what to tell the story was, and I always struggle with that myself until I finally realized what the real difference is, and that's what we discussed in the introduction. The difference is really in the communication. You can put something up on the wall, it looks great, looks good with the sofa. We said that a lot in college and everything. Like, that's good. You know, I get that. But fine art, you need to raise it to another level where you're communicating something a little bit different, something beyond the image itself. You want to transcend the medium. That's why, in my sense, if you think about it, all the medium becomes non-existent. I use all the tools I have in order to make whatever image I'm trying to make. And half the time, I may not even know what that image is, which I love, because you don't know what you're going to come up with and what you see, because your mind's responding to that. That's what I do. Now, to keep it simple, like I promised, we're all talking about the cyanotype. The cyanotype, you already got the history of it, and there's some people during that period of time, it came when all the other prints came up. Well, not the daguerreotype. Daguerreotype came shortly before that, but you had, I'm losing it, Fox Talbot with salt print, Albumen print. They all came pretty much at the same time, so this didn't pick up much during the period of time. What they really liked, there was some photographers of the period, I'm a little bit hazy on that, they would go out in the field with the cyanotype so they could proof their negatives. Because they're going to go back and make platinum planiums, they're going to make, but while you're out in the field, remember in those days it's 1800. You're not going to be able to check. You got to check to make sure you have it now. And that's what they did. And a lot of surviving cyanotype of that period was from the proof. So now it's kind of going back. Another thing we're talking about, the perception of blue. Blue is one of the more common colors I've seen and what I've seen in research that we respond to. That it can be negative, it can be positive, but it's pretty much even. What I've been experimenting with toning this thing, I think the tone of the blue makes a huge difference in what the person perceiving it is. So I'm always trying to change that. And since through the paper making I have access to a lot of different type of fibers, plant fibers, and I can use that for toning. So I would tone different images depending on what I'm trying to get from the image. If some image is like, whoa, that's way too blue, or some image you see way in the bottom is like, you don't even want the blue. You want something else, but it's still cyanotype.
So the toning is after the fact?
Yeah, which I'm going to show you now. I'm not going to do the toning, but with all that, the cyanotype, I'll have a book to pass out later. In order to show, this is the blue, the cyanotype that was toned just only a little bit. Okay, so it was with, and that doesn't have much toning on it at all. Now, if you look at the print on the back, I was going to use that as a diptych, but I decided not to, which is why it's flipped. You can see the difference in the perception of the exact same print. So that's what you're playing with. Now you're playing with all the intricacies of that. And when I'm talking about simplicity, you need a negative. And that's the only time I use modern. I did have 11 by 14 camera. I used to photograph everything on 11 by 14 negative and then make my print. Now you can just make negative. So this is just what you make on a computer. I do very little Photoshop. I don't even like it. It's like, because if I'm going to photograph something, I want it the way it is. What are you communicating? So you have to start with negative. This is called, in all these processes, if I didn't say it before, or what they call a contact print process. It's called printing out paper, because you'll be able to see the image as it prints out. And in the viewer, I'll show you that later because I exposed something earlier. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try. But in this case, this is called a contact printer. You would take your, I'm going to coat this for you, but probably not going to dry in time, but we can try. So you take your negative, you coat the paper. I'll show you how in a minute. And you put this on top, okay? You put that in our contact printer. And you have to have the pressure on it in order to keep the negative in registration. And then it all closed up and you go exposed to the sun. That's why I keep saying everything under the sun. Everything comes from the sun, right? So as you expose this, you can get the printing out paper. You can open it up. The bottom keeps it in registration. You can pull this out and you'll be able to see how it's exposing. Trial and error. There's no scientific method to it. You see what you see and you have to, for me personally, I needed to, I'll show you in a minute on the other one. I need it to print down a lot. There'll be a yellow, there'll be a blue, and there'll be yellow. If you can see yellow, it's going to go pure white. You're not going to get these nice tones in the middle. Up here, it'll be yellow. I'll show you that. I know that's not part of what we're showing, but just so you have an idea of what you're doing with the cyanotype.
Michael?
Now, the cyanotype here, this is all you have to do. I'm going to show you right now.
Michael, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, question.
Approximately, like in any of these images, how long was the exposure time approximately?
That's why we go in here.
All righty.
Now, I got a watch here, and I never had this before. I could spend $400 or $500 for a UV meter. My watch tells me how much UV we have outside. Now, most of the summer, it was at 2. Some of these images took almost 4 hours. But for this one, that I'm going to show you a bit later, it was at 4 the other day, going on 5, and it was done in about 30 minutes. I don't know that's enough yet. But
what kind of
all
paper is it?
What's that?
What type of paper is it? It's not.
You can use,
sensitive
like I said,
paper.
I make my own paper.
Yeah.
Now, if I make my paper for photogravure, and that means I don't put anything in it.
Right.
Maybe calcium calcinite in order to make sure it doesn't age. Okay, so it controls the pH. Then you also have the losing my mind here. You have another chemical you put in there for the buffer that keeps it from not having all the water seep into the paper. In this particular case, guys had this from, I'm not a name dropper, but I work with her a lot. If anybody knows Jill Enfield, she's the holy grail of the process and everything. I taught with her at Parsons in the beginning of the 90s, so we pretty much stayed in contact. She pretty much went for her workshop, just showed me Cranston watercolor, and I'm like, you're putting it on Cranston watercolor? And it's like you can have all kinds of, yeah, you can pass that around. Both versions work. I think there's a mixed media, and then there's Korol paper. Okay, the word I was looking for before, I forgot, sizing. You put the sizing, I ought to keep my little notes, right? The sizing in the paper. Now, without sizing, I used to use that for my photogravure because it sinks in a little bit more. When you make the paper for that, that's called water leaf paper. So what you would get in the water leaf paper is this. And this is the photogravure.
I'm going to interrupt you for
now, we'll get back to that too.
one quick question. How many of you know what
I'm
photogravure
sorry.
is? Maybe a quick,
I didn't bring a plate.
Okay.
It's made on a copper plate. You etch a photographic image onto it. You can photograph anything else, and that's why it's an etching. It's really basically an etching. And you do a photo etching on it using a certain process with that, and then you run it through a printing press. So it comes down and the ink is pushed in. And that's what this is done.
So you need less sizing if you're going to do that.
What?
You want less sizing in your paper if you're going to
Some like the sizing. Once again, it's one of those things where it's individual. But most of the time, I find most printers prefer not to have too much sizing in the paper because actually you're trying to push all that ink into the paper. You want the paper to receive it. And then again, that's what he ordered. How much do you want to receive and how much you don't want it to receive? You know? So, they make it simple. We can move this along fast. This is, like I said, this is from Photographer Formula and make a really simple kit for your cyanotype. You just mix it 50-50. One, like I said, potassium ferrocyanide. The other one's ammonium citrate. Like I said, it sounds bad, but it's not toxic at all. So. And you got to mix it 50-50. And I always mix too much in, so I'm going to make more than I need just to make sure I get it right. If you're actually making this, I prefer to mix, this is solution A, solution B. People always tend to put solution B, A first and B. I find B to be more vicious and a little bit harder to put in. So if I'm trying to measure them equally, this comes out, I'm pushing it more than the left one. So I actually try to use it backwards. I'm not doing it at this point, but see? Yeah. So, I do have one of those squeeze, but I'm one of those people like, remember, keep it simple? Sometimes too simple.
Michael, how long does that last? The chemical?
2 things. This thing can last up to 6 months to a year.
What's
Where'd my paper go? You got an extra?
was it paper?
Oh,
I don't want to. Yeah, send that back here. I need to send a sheet. Only because I don't want to put any cyanotype on their table.
Okay.
I'm not putting cyanotype on this one. I'm using this to cover. So this is basically all you have to do. You have a lot of people, I like sponges. Other people like to use the brushes and stuff like that. This makes sure so it spreads more. And
You can stand up, guys, so you can see.
see, now, I don't know if anybody can see it, and you might have, this has sizing on it and it pulls up. If it doesn't have sizing on it, it's going to go straight in. You're going to have to use a lot more. You see how, I can't show everybody this one, but it's going to run off. So with that, I got 2 more. So all you do is spread this. That's your cyanotype. It'll probably dry in about 10 minutes or so. If we had a hair dryer, which I didn't bring, we can dry it right away, and you can dispose it. I know, but I wasn't too sure where we could go. We're going to be in direct sunlight out here either, so that's why I put that off. However, put that here for now. That's dry. So now the best part is I had this out in the sun, like I was saying. I don't know if the camera can follow me, but we're ready to get behind. This is your, as you saw on the smaller version, this is your contact printer. This is 11 by 14. This thing is, believe it or not, these things cost almost as much as the cheaper cameras. It's like, doesn't make any sense. But so we take the back out, and it's been exposed for about 30 minutes. And I use it, this is from the solar eclipse, with a pinhole. I don't know if it's going to work in cyanotype. I figured, what the heck? I got black, I got white, so we can show everybody what we're doing here. Now, remember I telling you that yellow? It's how deep you want that yellow to go, because otherwise it's going to go white. Now, the other part on this cyanotype right here, this is solarizing. I personally prefer this to solarize. You know what solarization is? It's when it's trying to reverse it. Cyanotype doesn't quite do that, it just loses the contrast in it. So once you see that, for me, it tells me I'm kind of in the ballpark now, because I want those deep, deep blues. You don't usually see that in most cyanotypes, a nice light blue and everything. I want those deep blues. And how to take those deep blues without losing the, all the detail. But that's photography, right? So, with that, the good parts are coming up now. I know they can do this. I got only so much water here. See, this dries relatively fast. Not dry yet, but you can see it drying pretty good. I'm going to put this water in here. Not much. Oh, let's do it backward. Everybody can come up now.
Michael.
Oh, sure. Everybody come up to the table because.
Michael, you're leaking.
We're leaking.
Yeah. Oh, right here. That's what I got it for. There you go.
I think it does.
Anything else?
Hold on.
We're going to use that for paper, too. So. Oh, that's fine. It's not going to be bad. Okay, so what did it was I was going to put this water in here. Oh, I know what I did now. Hold on. Oh, put that in the corner.
I don't want to ruin your stuff. Hold on.
I got it. Okay. Oh, that doesn't matter. All right, let's do it.
I think he's good.
Okay, so what we're looking at should have been easier. So I'm going to pull all of it out now from the contact printer, see? So from here, well, we don't know. It's going to come up a lot. I don't know if I exposed it properly. So you put that in there, and this is where the water comes in. Yeah, I got so much. There you go, see? There's your cyanotype. It usually stays in here for about 5 minutes if you want it total. I'm probably going to pull it out a little bit for that. The good thing about this is, even when it's finished, it takes 2 days before the total blue develops into it. So, see, I probably, like I said, probably should add a little bit more exposure, but that's pretty much what you're looking at for a cyanotype. And that's how it's all done. All you have to do is take, this is almost dry now, put your negative on top of it, expose it to the sun, and inspect the end on the back, like I did. And that's all you have to do. At this point, if you want to tone it, you put the toner in.
In that water right now?
Yeah. Or another water. Well, you won't put it in the water. You want to drain the water out and you put the toner in to keep it strong.
Do you have a light box at home?
I'm going to pour this back in here because I'm going to use this for.
Michael, do you have a light box at home?
There you go. What?
Like a light box for your artificial sun, so you can do this at home without the sun?
I had that, but it will not work with cyanotype because cyanotype is one of the slowest processes. Probably why I didn't pick up on the 1800. I mean, like I said, sometimes I have like 2 hours, 4 hours. I mean, one time I left it out all day in order to get the nice deep light. So this probably needs double the exposure I had. And this thing already had 30 minutes on it at EV 4 and 5.
When I went to ICP, I'm sorry, they had the cyanotypes in there. We did them, and they actually had to heat the machines with the artificial sun.
I do, but I don't like running it for 2 or 3 or 4 hours because you're going to blow it out. Just use the sun. And I really call them sun prints. For albumen and my gum prints and everything, I have a light box for that.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Because I think a lot of you would like to know the answer to this question. Michael's going to be doing a workshop. Okay.
You can have
So,
this.
all right.
And
like a full workshop.
Now, the second part is, see, it's not going to take much longer for this to be fully dry for me to try something again. But as you saw, that had two, well, the other thing is I make my negative dense. The reason why I make my negative dense is to get the deep blue, because that means it's going to be exposed a lot. So then I got to figure out how I'm going to make sure the highlights still show. So that, you know, that's where you get into your curves of negatives and everything. But I learned it so much, I unlearned it. I just knew the knobs and everything, and they all work. Just like someone asked me, it's not going to be the same thing. So, anybody has any question about the cyanotypes at this point? Okay, you can ask later. Doesn't matter. You can think about it. I'm sure something else will come up.
I have a question. But the print, the one that you just pulled out, just to kind of go back a little bit, the image that appeared, that was originally exposed from a larger negative? Or how was that?
Well, you mean what I used for this?
Right,
The
yeah.
negative I made for it?
Yes.
Was taken with a pinhole camera. It was
Okay, can you
taken
hold
with a
that up
pinhole
again? Yeah, so can you bring that up here again? Because I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so that was, okay, so this paper was in a very large pinhole camera? Or?
No. I made the negative.
Ah,
I'm
you
sorry.
did the
I made
pinhole
it.
camera,
That's what I said.
took that and
That's
created
the only
the
time I
acetate.
used the negative was what's called Picture Rico material. You run it through the printer, which I hate, but that's what we do. And
That was
then
the
that
acetate.
is what used on this. I can make it as large as I
Okay,
want.
I knew there was a
Now
step
the pinhole,
missing.
believe it or
Okay.
not, was made. The pinhole was actually made with an older iPhone, because the earlier one had the 3 and won't work. So I had to find an old one with a pinhole because you can't look at the eclipse. So I used that, an old model that for some reason I kept charged. I used that to shoot everything, and I have another version of that for when I finish something else up to show you a bit later.
We're going to have a lot of workshops. Okay.
So the paper, everything here is very simple. It's really, like I said, complexity is how complicated you want it. Okay, now anybody make paper before in class?
I need to restart the main camera. We take a 30-second break.
Reset it.
Okay. Okay, awesome. This is our newest member, and we're in the process of figuring out when he is going to do a workshop. And I would say the workshop would probably be, what, a good 3-hour workshop? Yes, is that awesome?
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Now this is still slightly damp. That's another thing I can tell you about cyanotype. If it's slightly damp, you're going to get a bad purple in there. Purple? Yeah, I know, and it's not going to make the print at all. You can't even use it creatively. However, this is why some people think I do it backwards, but I do it on purpose. Have anybody used other alternate processes in silver?
Palladium.
Okay, if silver touches anything, it can make it totally black, totally ruin everything. That silver can't touch anything. It'll ruin your negative, it'll ruin everything. This will do this kind of the same thing. If I put this negative down on this one and it's wet, it's going to ruin the negative. What I tend to do is, because I don't care which way the image goes, because to me, photography, don't kill me, it's secondary. The image is secondary. Everything I do is what's going to enhance the imagery I'm trying to put into it. So that's why I've used the back side of this, because you can just wipe it off. It goes right in here like this, see? Now I'm going to send this out there, but maybe at the end of the class it'll get enough sun, I don't know. We'll see. I lost the top. The bottom.
Right in front of you, Mike.
It's right in front of me, right? Yep, of course. So this is the way this is done. They got clips, which are a pain because they actually come out I like the other one better, but they don't make it for the smaller one. So, want to send it out in the sun somewhere? Just put it up on the sidewalk. They're not going to run off with it. Okay. Get the best one you can because the EV is now free.
Take a chair.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the paper. If some people said they made paper, right? Paper is basically just the fibers they use from plant material, and they break it down. So you collect the plant fibers. This is exotic fiber. This is Thai kozo paper. This is considered the holy grail of paper making. This thing right here costs almost $60. Wow. Just for this. So what you would do is you would take this part, and you see how it breaks up like that? You put this in what's called soda ash. It's like a mild version of lye. Sometimes you use lye for the bamboo. You know how they say bamboo paper? Bamboo is probably one of the hardest things to break down. So, but I use local plant fibers too. I use the dragonberry seed, we use the milkweed. I've used all that. In fact, some of this has milkweed, and this is the fiber that we broke down. Not the Thai, not because it's expensive, just because once you put that down, you got to boil it for over an hour and that stuff, and then you have to either have what's called a Hollander beater. I'm sure some people are familiar with that. That's what beats the paper fibers down, or you do it by hand. I kind of do both. I got a machine that's not a Hollander, but it'll beat it.
So what part of the milkweed plant do you think is in there? Like, what do you use from the plant? The
I'm sorry?
stem of the milkweed.
Any plant, well, the milkweed, I like to use the stem.
Okay.
If you break the stem out, the inner side of it's good. The outer side of it is hard and barky. I left that out all winter. It seems to be breaking down, so I might use that. That's what you're playing with, you know. You just put things out there. The reason why this is so good because it has a very fine fiber to it. And once you break it down, you can make a very thin sheet. So even though I passed this out, I'm not sure if I passed all of it out. Oh yeah, so if in case I didn't want to go with the other negative, I have this one. The one that went out there. These I can pass out. The paper that I made local and what you can do with the printing press. This one, I'm playing with the stuff too much to really put an image on it because I'm playing with all the, and you can feel all the different paper. You can pass it all around. So, one thing.
Oh my goodness.
So, explaining how you're going to do the paper, I got a great illustration here. We can pass this out also. Because I love the illustration. I probably should have had it copied. I know it's in there somewhere. They usually have a sample of another paper that's made in Africa. So, and it also shows you how, my own paper, the fiber is broken down. Here it's been soaked. And before they get to the beating part of it. So, I thought I had my part in here. I know it's here somewhere. I probably should have put a flag on it. Probably the other one. See if I can find out later. But here's a. And I'm going to show you a different version of how you make the paper. Now, what you see in the picture is done what we call a decal. So you have your screen, and this goes on top. Now, if you ever known handmade paper, they have that nice edge to it. It's because you have this, and then this goes on top like that. And then you go, I don't have enough room, because you see, even with this little water, I spilled that much. You put it in there just like you see that, and you lift it up, and that's your paper, depending on how you do it. For this demonstration, the easier process is what we call a decal box. This is Arnold and Grumman. They have a nice kit for it. I was using this for the longest time before I decided to go to Brooklyn. There's Carriage House in Brooklyn. They know the best paper, and the women's wool known for paper making. So I went there to figure out, how can I do this better? So that's what, so you have your decal, basically the fiber, and this is just the support, okay? And then this keeps it in, so it stays in the box, see? Yeah. So now you have box. You put the box in a little bit of water. This one is all the local plant fiber that I collected this morning in order to put in here. You can come up and look if you want, because we're going to pull all this is. So this, see, you can see all the fibers. Usually mix that up. You can actually mix the fibers in the blender. It chops it up a little bit more. Sometimes I use it to break things down a little bit more too, so you don't need really expensive stuff to break it down with. And if you look at these different papers, this is pretty much what I'm doing. If I'm going to use that one, I use this one for the smaller one. So all this paper goes, there you go, see that? So believe it or not, you see, everybody, I can bring it around so everybody can see it, see? Not that much to look at, but, so the object is how simple. See those black marks? We're going to probably spread them around to make them look a little better. See? Everybody back here? I got you. Okay.
I will tell you right now,
So that's
those
just
of us who have made paper are
Paper fiber.
salivating.
And it's just sitting in the box. So, now the second part, none of this is hard, like I said. You're going to bring it up, and you want to, like I said, you want to make it look aesthetically nice. You got some clumps in one corner, clumps in the other corner, and then you're going to lift it up level because you don't want it. And all the water's going to drain out now. I made this really thick, so the drain takes longer. If I make it thinner, it's going to drain faster. You got another one here. I got a whole bunch.
We're good.
In fact, I'm going to speed this up for everybody. This is so exciting, right? Because what you're looking at now is like a bunch of pulp, right?
So people are already asking me.
Almost said something else, right?
People are already asking me if you're going to do this here.
They ask you what?
They're already asking me if you're going to be doing workshops soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was a given, so can someone remove this for me? Because I'm going to spill it again. Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
So I found a way to cheat. We always do, right? So rather than have all that, I just put, I just need it doubled over, so it's going to be, there you go, right, check. Okay, so now what you do is, you just take it out, and you can lift it up fast and have rough edges, or you can lift it up really nice and jiggle it. See how it sticks? And it depends on what you want. So, and then, if anybody, there's another thing called pulp painting. So that's why I don't worry about it so much, because you can actually take the pulp, and you can, if you have an armature or metal, you can actually sculpt with it. Right. So that's why I don't worry. And as you see, from one end a little more than the other, because I didn't keep it as even as I told everybody they're supposed to. So in the Arnold Grumman style for this, they like to speed things up. They've got a screen, but it's going to show the texture. So sometimes I just use the back. I don't worry about it. With this one, I can put that on. And now, I know you did good, but now I'm going to need the water in order to, oh, you're going to need to see this. I thought I was so organized. So with the screen, now I'm just going to soak up the water. Now at this point, I can, since it's thin, I can actually change the edges the way I want them. I want them nice and clean, or if I want to make them, you see the second or third one? Yes. That's where I push the edges up to give you more of a handmade paper look. Yes. And it goes back and forth in the paper industry. If you want to make it look like you don't see the hand that made it, to me it's like if you don't see the hand that made it, you're kind of losing, to me personally. Doesn't mean that you can't do it that way, because you have this beautiful paper, like I work for the Liechtenstein Foundation. If you see the paper that Liechtenstein works on, it could almost be like a photographic. Nice and flat, nice, clean, pH, doesn't interfere with anything but the print. So that's good. But if you want the handmade paper, I don't know if you've heard of Linda Benglis. She would work with the handmade paper sometime and actually coat her pieces with it. I work with her too. I'm not a name dropper, just like I don't know how to convey certain things from certain people, right? So you see how easy this is? So all I'm doing is bunching this up, see? So then you take it off, and there's your paper that I made from. And it's actually I cyanotype in it because my cyanotype that don't work, I put it back into my paper to give it a little bit of color.
Say that again?
He's recycling.
Now this is now the second print that you saw here. This is now all you ladies are gonna think this is molding, but it's not. I tried to make black paper, it didn't work so well. But all my papers are black. But this is called coaching. You're gonna put the paper on there, and then you're gonna lift this up. So now we don't even need this anymore. There you go. And then you're gonna push down on this because this is taking all the. So you want to roll this. See, I put everything in here. If everybody comes up here, you can still see my gold flakes I put in from a prior. I can kind of clean it off, but I like spontaneity. See? So I can do this 2 or 3 times, and then I didn't take a picture of it. I might have it, a press, and I can put it in the press. And then I can push that down, but see? And then I have this to make sure, depending, the harder you put it, the stronger the paper's gonna be. The less you have it up, the more texture you have, but the more absorbent everything's going to be. So depending on what your final objective is what you, so you just do this 2 or 3 times, and then you can dry it.
What kind of paper is that you're using for cooking?
What's the question?
What kind of paper are you using to absorb?
I don't know what the paper is. It's called coaching paper, and it's just like specifically for this purpose, and that's it. Personally, I probably should know what's in there, but I don't.
It's thin.
Because it's like coaching paper. It's like a choo-choo train. What kind of engine in a choo-choo train? I don't know. I'm kidding, but. And that's all you have to do. And then now you put it out to dry. If you want to put it under the press to dry, I found, I didn't bring that here either. I like using a vacuum, a water vacuum frame. So once I make, especially with the decal, with this, I don't have to do that. If I want the texture, I don't have to worry about flattening out. I just use the wet vac underneath it. It takes all the water out of it. I don't have to do this. I'm even thinking of making a machine where I just put it down, I'm done.
Are you talking about a regular wetback, Michael? Are you talking about a regular wetback?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Nothing fancy. I lost my, it's funny you mention that, I lost my wide attachment, so I got this little circle, and I'm going like this. And I'm holding it because I haven't put a frame down yet. I'm wondering if it's worked. It works really well. I probably should have bought some of that paper, but we're not here for paper making. We're here for photography. So, see, there's your paper. Now, one thing they always told me even is that you got to roll this off to keep the paper there, especially if you got a nice light texture paper. See. Even though this is wet, you can pass it around. It's all it is wet. See?
He made that look really easy.
Now, you know, my theory of photography is, when we're going back to Nietzsche for the first photography, is the window on the world, right? The first image they ever took. I didn't bring that image, I probably should have. But it's world renowned. You can go look it up. He took a picture outside his window, which actually, they said it's a window. It looked like it's from a castle, right? So anyway, that was the birth of photography, the first image that was taken for photography. And from that one, it developed to where everybody pretty much figured after that point, the photographers never got beyond that photography, just a picture on the wall. It's a frame on the wall. So I've always struggled to get beyond that. Nothing against Karen, it's just great when you really use it to that level. How do you get beyond the window on the wall? Because that's what photography is. the Pencil of Nature Talbot was writing, he just wanted to capture all the intricacies that were real, because everybody would draw them, paint them, they wouldn't have that. So this is, remember I told you about the pinhole eclipse?
Yeah.
I also have a workshop for bookmaking for photographers, for folios or whatever. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to show you an image of eclipse. How do you get beyond window on the wall? Well, this is one of my takes.
Nice.
You're not looking at a window on the wall. You're looking at experience, I hope. Yeah, you can pass it out. I made it just in time for your show.
Nice.
They're not mounted.
And this is what we just saw. This is handmade paper I made from, this is milkweed paper.
Really? I worship.
And it was all done during the eclipse. I made the paper during the eclipse. I photographed this for the eclipse. So this is all the power of that eclipse, the 2024 in this work.
All of the power.
Now, I think I covered a lot. Now we can ask questions.
I know.
That's an interesting color. Now, the color here is going to dry down, so it's going to become lighter, which is good, because I actually wouldn't prefer to have it this dark. But if I use the photogravure, I can use the photogravure of this. I have a plate for that. Something graphic and, well, basically graphic. Any kind of graphic image I can put right on there, and that'll work really well. Because what I'm going to struggle with now, since is I want the paper to be, gonna kill me. I want the paper to be the star of the show. What imagery can I put on there to complement that rather than not take away from it?
This one.
Kind of. I'd rather have it more photographic. No, I'm just saying, that's what I struggle with. If one hears me as a photographer, what I put up, that's what I struggle with. That's what causes me glee at night. What can we put? Wow, that worked! I was trained at Rochester Institute of Technology using Ansel Adams, zone system, everything. They literally drove into you that when you photograph something, you should know exactly what it looks like at the end. I did. And after that, you can discard it. You have to learn something to discard it. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to do that. You got to know it first.
How long have you been doing your own thing?
The cyanotype?
Yeah. And everything.
2 years ago during the pandemic, we didn't have anything to do. Jill invites me up to her place, Jill Enfield, and I do cyanotype. It's the baby of all the processes. You know, you stuck up. I do platinum palladium. I do albumen. It's a really great process. I'm saying that it is. So I wanted to do cyanotype on glass. And she had a system of doing cyanotype on glass. She goes, oh, come up here. And we went up there, the last thing we did was glass on cyanotype. But we sitting there, she going like, well, I ordered this book. What book did you order? Oh, I ordered this book on botanical toning and cyanotype. What? Really? That's really interesting. Yeah, I've been waiting for it. I don't know how long. I go home, I order it, I get it, and go, wow, Jill, this is really great stuff. I haven't got my book. Too bad. I'm making prints now. And I did that like, I think that was what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago. So all these cyanotypes, I just pretty much started doing. Before that, my forte was called Kalitype print. They call the poor man version of platinum palladium, but I like the Kalitype. Anybody heard of Van Dyke Brown? The Kalitype gives you Van Dyke Brown, but a lot more control. You can control the color. I'm writing color. That's something I was thinking of earlier, that even though these are color, I still consider them monochrome. The closest I ever got to color was that, because I didn't have enough time to do a gum bichromate to make that thing ready for the class. Gum bichromate is a process where you sensitize the emulsion, and you use watercolor in it in order to control the color. So depending on how many layers you put on, you got to get the registration right. You can make all the colors you want. You can make it'll look like a 1960 color print. And that you see on Instagram, you can actually do that. But that's not me. I take it and play with it. So I think that's in a nutshell. Anybody got any questions? Like, how can you decide which process to use as opposed to the other?
Of course, I have a question. What else is new? this is like to simplify.
Everything's simple.
Like, at what stage did the botanically stained part of it come into play?
I never did cyanotype. The only reason why I did cyanotype is to have the color in. Like I said, I was sitting there with Joe.
Okay,
I misunderstood the question.
I'm asking the wrong question. Let's say in one of these pieces, like,
Okay.
what were kind of the steps? Like you created the image, then the negative, and then when did the toning
This what
come?
most people don't know, and I used to get my brother, I went through a stage where I was gonna not do photography, I'm gonna retire. So, and these people want me to walk, I'm a dog person. I'm a dog person they want me to walk the dogs, okay. I'm also an ultra marathoner, and not only ultra, but multi-days. I do 100 miles in one day, I do like 400 miles in 6 days, and races ranked in the top 10. And my wife's going like, when are you gonna make any money? You're not making any money, you spend it all the time. I go, okay, I can't train for this, can't train for a marathon. I go, okay, what if I walk dogs and charge them? Okay. So what happened was, now I'm walking the dogs, I'm out in nature, I'm seeing all these things. And I got more opportunity for something to, I wouldn't say speak to me, something happened when I see it. I don't go out looking to take a photo. I've done that. It's like, it doesn't work. Some people it might. To me, it's just like, you try too hard, it's not gonna be so good. So now I'm just walking dogs, I'm going by, all these photos come from me walking dogs. And meantime, I'm getting 10, 15 miles in a day, and I can go do a multi-day.
When did
I know, that totally got off.
but when did the color become part of the paper? Part of
Oh, well,
Okay.
that's in the toning process,
In
just
the-
like a regular photograph. You put it in and you wait to what you to me, I wait to see what happens. It's not like I already foresee what's going to happen. And then I have to guess how long I want that, because sometimes when you pull it out, it keeps going. So you really can't do anything where you see, that's perfect. As soon as you do that, it's not going to be perfect.
So
the
after
question
you
is,
got the image,
wait when it's wet and I put the toner in, that's when the process that you're talking about happens. What kind of color? I'm thinking of the emotion. At what point is this color going to work and transcend the medium rather than, okay, I just colored the paper?
so the answer to the question is you have to take the workshop to get the follow-up for that. Okay.
Because then we'll make it, and then you see yourself when you put something in. Because seeing, believing, like I told Pam, she wants me to do a talk. I'm going like, I'm not going to do a talk. I mean, it's like, you talk about your abilities, demonstrate your abilities.
Yeah.
Then you can talk about it.
So is the toning with the plant matter similar to when people do, what's it called, entrotypes, where they just print
Similar,
entrotypes?
you might, but that's chemical. I mean,
There's one where people just.
are you talking about photographic toning? Photographic
no.
silver gelatin print toning?
No.
Okay, what are we talking about?
It's like solar printing from the sun.
Yeah.
With using plants. I don't know.
They color the paper
That's the
with
toning.
Color the paper with
The
what's in
color,
plant.
you can color the paper just like anything else. You can get color paper.
anything,
Okay, so you can do that. And some of the toners will tone the paper too, not just the cyanotype.
I'm using the wrong word, like lumen prints.
What?
Lumen prints, those are just.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Jill told me about that. I find it's very limited in
Yeah.
Personally, remember,
Didn't work for me.
the way we were working on it is different. And I saw some beautiful stuff that her students have done that she was showing me. But I'm thinking, well, think of what I just said. I'm out there, I'm walking dogs, I'm doing this and everything. Yeah. So it's not really going to be like, well, this is a really nice print. I'm going to put this thing here. How am I going to put this on what paper? I'm going to put this in the sun. No, I'm out there doing. You could do it, and I've been tempted to at least try something, so I know what you mean. But they have a limited lifespan too. They are not archival in any sense, and they'll start fading. Unlike, now you're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. Cyanotypes and all the history of photography and everything. We all know they all fade, they go away. If I put that in the sunlight, it'll start to fade away. with the best of UV protection. But get this, if I take it out and I put it back in the dark, it'll revitalize and it'll come back totally. So you cannot get rid of it. Wow. Unless you put it in water.
So what's happening with your piece outside now? Did we bring that back in yet?
Do we we have a cyanotype in the window?
What?
Oh,
Paul?
that one? I forgot about it. Let's go get it.
I think Paul put it on top of somebody's car, okay? So
I forgot all about that
the
one.
mystery continues, okay, good. Okay,
Michael,
Now see, how this paper,
will you be teaching, I think I know the answer. Will you be teaching how to do digital negatives in your workshop?
kind of. Remember what I said about, I'm not gonna be like, are you familiar with Mike Ware and Brooke Holder? You know
yes,
Brooke Holder?
yes.
Those guys are like Ansel Adams. They gotta have this, that. I understand my curves and I change it. I'd rather have people learn by changing things subtly to learn something. So yes, you would have negative, but it's not going to be intensive. I'm going to look at what you have and we'll do a print. And then from there, we'll see what you have and we'll make another one. From that point on, you're going to know what you need to do. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah.
You know how when you went to
So,
Pat's
you
and
can already see the black, before I even take it out, it's already bronzing a bit. So,
I'm gonna take him home, come back.
oh, okay.
I'll go get my car.
so this means, whoa, this was out there for too long, but you're gonna come up good. So, that's what happens when you forget things. I'm gonna pull it out because it's like, yeah. See? Bronzed out and everything. However, it might be interesting what happened when I put it in the water. I'm sorry, you asking another question?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think I'm gonna bring you here and bring 3 of them.
The
I
only
use
other
the
one
phone
back
camera
here is a
most of
jeans
the time.
jacket.
Other than that, I use a G16 that's converted to
It's got something in the
infrared.
pocket.
But I have it what's called a 720 nanometer filter, which means it almost makes it 50-50. So when you look at it,
Hold on.
you don't quite know you're seeing infrared.